James and Ben back here for OddsChecker with what they are calling UFC Las Vegas. I guess because this isn't at the Apex, they have to now just call it Las Vegas as opposed to UFC Vegas 71 or whatever it's called. But yeah, great card. We were just talking about this off air a little bit. This is going to be taking place at the, where is it here? The
Virgin's Hotel.
There you go. That's why you're here, to help me out when I'm stumbling here. The theater at the Virgin Hotels, as you can see. So a new venue for the UFC. Great to see them get out of the Apex. They've been there forever when it comes to fight night cards. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the fights. We're going to start on the main card. We've got Said Nurmagomedov taking on Jonathan Martinez. And right now in OddsChecker, you'll see Said Nurmagomedov almost a 3-1 favorite. Jonathan Martinez around plus 200, plus 190. Who you like in here, Ben?
Yeah, I like Nurmagomedov, not necessarily for the odds. I mean, obviously, he's a pretty hyped prospect. I don't necessarily love usually betting on hyped prospects, but he's 6-1 in the UFC. He's looked pretty good. He hasn't fought necessarily like a super high strength of schedule, but I kind of like that they're taking it slow. Sometimes you see these hyped prospects, they just give them big names too quickly. So I almost kind of like that he's kind of taking it slow a little bit. And he, of course, he does have the one loss to Raoni Barcelos in the UFC, but outside of that, he's looked pretty good. I'm not sure if Martinez is really set up with his takedown defense for the upset here. He is coming off a pretty good win against Cub, but Cub's getting older. So I do like Nurmagomedov here. I might look for a decision. I'm tempted to say he's going to win by submission, but I kind of want to take the decision line just because I feel like it's the best price. But that's kind of where I'm leaning.
Yeah, we're on the same page here. I think Nurmagomedov decision. I will mention, though, he was losing that last fight against Said Yukub Kakrakmonov. It just, he made a mistake and he was able to submit him in that fight. He actually didn't look that good in that matchup. Now, Martinez, you mentioned it there. I'm glad you brought up the strength of schedule there because, yeah, you're right. Swanson on his way out. Vince Morales actually got released after the UFC after that fight. I don't know if Perez is still in the UFC, and Dvalishvili I don't think is in the UFC either. So kind of what I'm getting at here is a lot of his recent wins are against fighters that are not really UFC caliber. Yep. Here's the thing, though. Martinez has got some knockout power, and I do wonder, like, at any point in the fight, if he could, get that fight-ending finish, just because he has some serious power here. So I'm going to pick Nurmagomedov by decision. I'm going to play the decision prop as well. I think I agree with you. I think that's the way to go. I might throw a tiny bit on Martinez by knockout, just in case, because again, this is a guy that every fight is, getting more confident. He can go out there and finish you. Can he finish Said Nurmagomedov? I don't know, but I think it might be worth a stab here because I don't see Martinez winning a decision. I think if he does win, it'll be a knockout. So maybe do a little hedging or, get creative with the odds here. But I think there is some value on Martinez by knockout in this fight, just because, yeah, I know Nurmagomedov's never been finished, but I just think Martinez is one of those guys that has that power. So it's kind of one little tidbit I'd mention on that fight. Okay, next matchup, we're going to go to the featherweight division. We've got Ricardo Ramos taking on Austin Lingo. And right now, Ramos, huge favorite, minus 400. Come back on Lingo, plus 285. Who are you going with here?
Yeah, kind of a battle of the ring rust here. Lingo hasn't been fighting since 2021. Ramos, it's been almost a year, I think, since his last fight. So a little bit of a layoff here. But Ramos has fought more recently. And he just feels like an inconsistent guy to me. I don't know if I like seeing this big of a line on someone who, it seems like when he loses big, but when he wins big. Like, he's coming off a spinning elbow. That's a pretty cool stoppage win there. And then he has a win against like Bill Algeo. Like, that's a pretty good win too. But he also has some weird losses against guys who I just don't know what to expect from him here. Like, he has big wins, big losses, or bad losses, I should say. And Lingo, like, I think maybe he's capable. I just don't know what to say with 2 years of layoff. So I have nothing in this fight. I just can't make any strong lean here for either side, really. So nothing for me.
Yeah, exactly how I feel too. And I'm glad you brought up the inconsistency. We should mention some of those fights that Ramos lost were at bantamweight. I think he's more fit for the featherweight division, right? Like Said Nurmagomedov, for example, we just talked about, he lost to him, I believe, at bantamweight. So I think he's in the right weight class now. But there's just such a small sample size of him at 45 that it's like tough to gauge how good he is. You mentioned Lerone Murphy destroyed him in the first round in that fight. Bill Algeo, I think, is a good win, but Danny Chavez got cut after that fight, right? So again, it's same sort of thing. Like, who is he really beating? With Austin Lingo, I haven't been that impressed. I know he had the short notice loss to Zalal, beat Jacob Kilburn, who's not in the UFC, defeated Luis Saldana. That's a good win, but that was like a couple of years ago. No play for me here. I don't even think it's worth betting the dog in this one because I don't know if Lingo can pull it off. If I have to pick, I'm going to go Ramos, but no bet for me in this fight. Okay, next one we're going to look at is in the light heavyweight division. I feel like a little deja vu, Ben, because we talked about this fight a few weeks ago. Of course, Krylov got sick, so they moved it to this card. And Krylov's still the favorite here. You're seeing on most books about minus 170, around minus 180 around there. Are you changing your pick, or are you sticking with who you went with last time?
No, I'm sticking with my pick. I just think that I mean, this is going to be a really good fight because I mean,
Yeah.
in 38 fights, I said it last time, 38 fights, only 4 decision wins. Well, not wins, but 4 decisions in general for Krylov. So I mean, it's pretty much going to be all action both ways. Spann is similar. I think 28 fights, he had like 5 go to the scorecard. So both obviously bring the action. I just think this fight, even with the reach advantage, the slight reach advantage, I should say, for Spann, I can't help but think Krylov can just work in a little bit of wrestling here, maybe tire out Spann, especially, well, it's 3 rounds. So it does make it a little bit more interesting, at least. But I do think Krylov can find the finish. I'm going to say it's by KO. He's pretty well-rounded, so it's a little bit hard to tell. He does actually have more submission wins. But I got to think this is going to be violent. So someone's going out. My pick is probably going to be Krylov here. And I say probably because I might actually switch to under. I'm going to see where the odds go later in the week. But I like Krylov in this fight just to win.
Yeah, kind of like we talked about last time. Krylov's the more well-rounded fighter. All he has to do is get out of the first round, and I think he wins this because Spann typically does finish early. It's obviously got some good power here, but I think Krylov has shown he's seen a lot of maturity in his career. We talked about this last time about, this is his second stint with the UFC. He's, definitely come into his own and picked up some good wins. And even, his most recent loss against Paul Craig, it was a fight he was winning, right? He just got caught. So I definitely think Krylov can avoid the power here from Spann. I think he will get a finish. I just looked at will the fight go the distance? Fight won't go the distance. Is minus 500. Not getting much value there, but maybe look at the under or something along those lines. I even think Krylov inside the distance, if you can get that, that's probably worth the stab because I think he could probably take out Ryan Spann. Spann is as wild as he is. He also makes a lot of mistakes, and I think that's where opponents have been able to capitalize. But either way, I really like Krylov in the spot. I think he's just the much better fighter than Ryan Spann, and I think he has more ways to win. Is kind of what I'm looking at there. Okay, next one we're going to look at. Next one we're going to look at is in the co-main event. We've got Alexander Volkov taking on Alexander Romanov, and not to be confused with the New York Islanders defender, who's also named Alexander Romanov. But right now, the odds makers have Romanov as the favorite. Volkov is the underdog. Who are you going with here?
I'm a little surprised by these odds. I'll be really interested to see where these odds end up because at this current time, I love Romanov here. The question is whether Volkov. It's not if Romanov shoots, it's when, and it's probably going to be early. Is Volkov's takedown defense going to hold up? I don't think so. We kind of saw a bad loss from him against Tom Aspinall. He ended up getting submitted there pretty early, actually in the first round. So I don't know if I see this one going much different. I expect him to get taken down early. I don't know how he's going to look off his back. I don't know how his takedown defense is going to look, but I can't expect it's going to be good against Romanov, who we know he's a really good wrestler. He's averaging over 5 takedowns per 15 minutes in the UFC. So I think it's going to be a quick takedown for him. I don't know. He did actually, his cardio might be a little bit of an issue here, but it's a 3-round fight. I don't even know if he'll need the cardio, if he can find that quick submission. But yeah, I like Romanov here. I think the line's going to, stylistically, this should be a layup for him. I think the line is going to rise as we go later into the week. So I think minus 155 is a pretty good line to get on him right now. So I like Romanov a lot in this fight.
I'm going the other way here. I like Volkov. And the reason I like Volkov is because for a couple things. Number one, he's fought a far better row of competition here. You look at who Volkov's losing to. We're talking some of the best fighters in the weight class here, right? You look at it here. Tom Aspinall sort of thought is the future of the division. Searle gone. Curtis Blades, Derek Lewis, and he's got some good wins in between there. Overeem, Tybura, Rosenstrike, finish him quickly. Who thought that was going to happen? I was concerned about Volkov at a certain point. Actually, it was the Aspinall fight where I'm like, I don't know, man. This might be like the decline of Volkov. But that Rosenstrike fight got me right back on the wagon here. Again, the strength of schedule is far different here. Romanov's actually coming off a majority decision loss to Marcin Tybura in his last fight. A lot of people felt like it should have been a draw, but still, that was a fight that he was supposed to win, and he didn't end up doing it. Prior to that, he's beat a bunch of guys who are, barely holding on to their jobs. Chase Sherman, Jared Bandera, etc. I haven't been that impressed with Romanov so far. I know what you mean about the takedowns, but Volkov fought a guy in Curtis Blades. This is nothing new for him, who fought a better wrestler, arguably. Well, not arguably, definitely a better wrestler in Curtis Blades, and he was able to stifle those takedowns here. The key thing here, as it is in most Volkov fights, the height and reach, 6'7" to 6'2", 80-inch reach to 75. So Volkov can use his striking and keep the fight upright. I think he can outstrike him here. So you're getting Alexander Volkov at plus money. Give me that money. I'll take him as the underdog here to get it done and win a decision over Romanov. I think he gets it done. I think that experience is going to come in handy in this fight. So it's going to be my pick. All right, let's get to the main event. We've got Petr Yan taking on Merab Dvalishvili. And right now you can see on OddsChecker, Petr Yan, almost a 3-1 favorite here. Merab, a big underdog, plus 215, around plus 210 around there. Who are you going with this week?
Yeah, a little bit like the last fight, it's going to be dependent on takedown defense because Merab Dvalishvili, he holds the record for the most takedowns in a fight. He got 13 in that fight against Gustavo Lopez. He holds the record in the bantamweight for the most takedowns in a fight. He had 12 against Casey Kenny. So like we know where he's looking to take this fight. He's looking to take it to the ground. So the question is whether Jan can keep it standing. And I think obviously stylistically, if he can keep it standing, he's one of the best strikers in the division. And I hate that last fight that he ended up not winning. All 26 of the media scorecards had Petr Yan winning that fight. I had Petr Yan winning that fight, but somehow only one of the judges had Petr Yan winning that fight. But this is obviously a much different stylistic matchup for him. So it's going to be really interesting to see where the takedown defense goes, especially after 2 losses. He's lost 3 of his last 4, Petr Yan has. So I really think he's going to come into this fight focused. He's going to be ready. He knows what Dvalishvili is going to bring to this fight. He knows he's going to need that takedown defense. And, you know, he looked okay against Aljamain Sterling in his takedown defense. He did actually end up losing both those fights, obviously won by disqualification. But I think he can keep this off the ground. And in that case, I think he's going to absolutely piece up Merab on the feet. So I do like Jan. Of course, the line is pretty indicative of that, -250. So I like decision because both these guys are super durable. You don't really see Merab getting finished. He's been finished 1 time in his career against Ricky Simon. Outside of that, he hasn't been finished during his win streak in the UFC. He hasn't lost in general. But so I think this fight's definitely going to the scorecards. I like Jan by decision here.
I'm going the other way here. And I've been called crazy for this pick, and I get it. Trust me, I understand. Jan is the better striker, and Jan's a very well-rounded fighter. Here's the thing, though. I watched that fight he had against Jose Aldo, Merab that is, and he was able to neutralize everything Aldo brought to the table. And I know they both have wins over Aldo, right? And actually, Jan finished Aldo. Merab didn't. But I just think that if Merab gets a hold of Jan, he's not going to be able to do much. And I could see this being a repeat of the Aldo fight where you think that Jan's going to outstrike him. You think he's going to get him on the ground and try and submit him or something, and it's not going to happen. Also, keep in mind, who's Merab Dvalishvili's main training partner? A guy who's fought Petr Yan twice. That's a big advantage, having Aljamain Sterling as one of your main training partners here. I think Merab is, people don't like him for a variety of reasons, but he gets it done. I mean, people were so mad that he basically just, stifled Jose Aldo in a fight, yeah. But it works. And then people talk about the 5 rounds, which obviously Jan has that advantage because he has that experience. They call Merab the machine for a reason. This guy can keep an incredible pace up. Here's the other thing too. Merab, the fight that he was the closest to getting finished by knockout was the Marlon Moraes fight, right? And Moraes looked like he had him done, and Merab was able to persevere. He survived that. And I think Marlon Moraes hits a lot harder than Petr Yan does. What's the other knock on Petr Yan? He's a slow starter. If you look at that finish against Aldo, you look at a lot of his finishes, they're a little bit later, other than maybe like the Uriah Faber fight. But that's the thing. Like he's fighting, Petr Yan's fighting a guy who's got good cardio. I think he can go the 5 rounds. If he's going to turn it on, it's going to be late in the fight. But Merab, I don't think is going to get tired. I think Merab is going to, again, neutralize Jan early on. He's going to just hold him against the fence, take him down, all this stuff. And I think he wins a not very great, exciting decision here. I think he does it. You're getting +215, +210 for Merab on this card. I'll take it. I know this might be crazy and I might look like a fool on Monday, but I'm telling you, I think based after what we saw in that Aldo fight, I think Merab can do the same thing here and really just suffocate Jan to the point of where he ends up winning a decision here. So I'm going Merab this way, and I'm also going to take Merab by decision because I'm sure the odds on that, actually, let's look at it right now. Method of victory here. Merab wins by decision or technical decision is +330. Not getting a ton of juice there, but yeah, I think that's worth a stab for sure. So, and because I don't like, here's the thing. I don't think Jan's going to be able to finish Merab Dvalishvili. He's too good of a fighter. I know, again, he's taken some damage too, but I just don't see that happening. And if it goes to the scorecards, what happened last time? I could see Merab again doing what a Sean O'Malley did and getting a decision here. Yeah. So I'm going for the upset.
Well, I like when we both disagree because that means at least one of us wins.
It's going to win, yeah, exactly. And if it's and whoever loses, where it's going to be kind of rough because last couple of main events haven't really gone our way, have they? So
no,
hopefully Monday it's.
Yeah, we actually disagree on quite a few fights this card, so
yes,
it sounds like
it's good. This is better for the audience.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. All right, so yeah, enjoy the card this Saturday. Again, earlier start time here. It's 3 p.m. Eastern time, so it's actually 12 Pacific if you're going to be watching this one. So a little daytime MMA for myself, for Ben. Hope you guys enjoy the card this Saturday. We'll see you next week for the big UFC 286 pay-per-view in London, and go cash those bets.